Hey everybody, it is your boy, Baseman Awakens, checking in with you for the latest video on the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel. For those of you listening, this is your first time. I thank you for checking into the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel. And I drop new videos every Sunday. So just remember to like, share, and subscribe. And every Sunday, you'll check out a new high quality, well-produced video from Baseman Awakens. Before I get into it, I just want to remind everyone that YouTube in its censorship campaign has changed its algorithm to basically cut down on the amount of alternative viewpoints in terms of people sharing their opinions and their assessments of what's going on in the world. So I really do need your support out there. And also, if you want to know more about Baseman Awakens, check out the first video I did on the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel. You can also check out the narrative I wrote on the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel description. All right, let's get into it. Today's topic: how do white liberals finesse black people? Yeah, I said it. How do white liberals finesse black people? So why? Why did I choose this topic, right? Well, there are a number of reasons why. You know, the media is all about what's coming for the 2020 elections. Who's going to be facing Donald Trump on the Democratic side? Obviously, we have Kamala Harris, who's thrown her name in the ring. So is Cory Booker. And then also, there's been some pushback within the African American community in terms of what the Democrats, aka white liberals, are going to do for them through the ADOS movement. Guys, if you're not familiar with the ADOS movement, it's called the American Descendants of Slave Movement. And it's a movement that's saying specifically, what is America going to do for African Americans? Not blacks, African Americans. Not people of color, African Americans. Not oppressed minority groups, African Americans. And this movement has been having an impact. And I also figured that this video would be a part of a trilogy, right? If you've been listening to the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel, you'll notice over the last couple weeks, most of my videos have been very political in nature. For example, who is really black in America, in which I talk about Kamala Harris and her relationship with the African American community. And the other video, the Obama effect on the African American vote, in which I break down the fact that since Obama didn't do anything for black people in 2020, black people are saying, what is the Democratic Party, aka white liberals, gonna offer us? And I figured, I was like, you know what? This would be the third and the final part of it that really is going to break down some of what's really going on in the African American community concerning voting and our agenda. All right, so how do white liberals finesse black people? I'm pretty sure there's some people out there that have no clue what the word finesse means. Finesse, for Baseman, in terms of how Baseman defines it, is to get over on someone in a very refined, sophisticated, slick way. And the key to finessing someone is by manipulating them on an emotional level. And I really want you guys to remember that, manipulating them on an emotional level. And how do white liberals do this? Well, white liberals are able to do this by getting black people to vote for Democrats. Or black people to give 90% of our votes to the Democratic Party, but yet neither the Democratic Party or these white liberals that we vote for never offer any specific policies that benefit African Americans or black people. Now, I just want to remind everyone, I'm going to be using the term African American and black people interchangeably. Black people are all the groups of black people, all the different groups of black people that live in this country, including African Americans, Caribbeans, Africans and Afro-Latinos. African Americans are specifically black people who are descendants of the slavery system in America. I'm using it interchangeably to reflect the fact that white liberals are finessing all of us. Now, before I have to set some context here, right? Because I'm pretty sure you're asking, so black people have always voted Democrats. And that's actually not true. Since black people actually got the right to vote, and this is also a very complicated issue. So I'm just going to say post-slavery, right? The black people have typically voted, at least up until the 1960s, for the Republican Party. Yeah, the Republican Party, not Dems. You want to know why? Because it was a Republican Party, aka the party of Lincoln, that supposedly, or quote unquote, freed the slaves. And because black people were freed by the Union, right, from the Confederacy, black people naturally threw their support behind the Republican Party. And this was true up until the 1960s. In the 1960s, during the middle of the Civil Rights Movement, the president at the time, President Lyndon Johnson, decided to throw his support behind civil rights legislation. And then because of that, black people then switched their political support and their voting patterns, right? Because that's in the 60s, that's when most black people really got the opportunity to vote. And black people saw the Democrats as the reason for them being able to get the right to vote. Now that is true, but I think we need to dig a little deeper into specifically what these white liberals in the Democratic Party now, right? Because they switched over to the Democratic Party from the Republican Party, actually did. And outside of the Voting Rights Act, all these other policies that they put out there that were supposedly supposed to make America more equal were not actually for blacks. They were for people of color, right? So Native Americans, Hispanics, Asians, blah, 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 blah. They were for oppressed groups, which could be anything, but specifically white women. So like, I think from the beginning of the relationship that black people currently have with the Democratic Party, you could see how white liberals are finessing black people. Because at the end of the day, they really don't have any commitment to the interests of black people. And I'm going to be explaining that in a little bit more detail, right? Like these programs, if you take a look at, let's say, affirmative action, over the last 50 years, you want to know who the biggest beneficiary of affirmative action has been? It hasn't been black people. It's actually been white women, right? Which is kind of crazy. And black people, we have to take some responsibility in this, right? Because the only way these white liberals have been able to finesse us is because of the position that we put ourselves in. Because of white supremacy, because of slavery, because of Jim Crow, and because of the economic, social, and political oppression that black people have gone through, I personally believe that our self-esteem as a people has been damaged. And because we don't have a strong sense of self-esteem, we're constantly chasing after white people for their validation. Now, some of you are saying, oh man, Baseman, that's not true. I personally believe this is true. I'm going to explain to you why. For example, during the 1960s and 70s, when the civil rights legislation was supposedly creating all these opportunities for black people, right? Well, for people of color, including black people, because you got to spread it all over the place. As soon as integration became possible for black people, we abandoned our communities and we abandoned our own institutions. What I mean by this, right? When we were dealing with segregation, even though black people, we had a higher poverty rate, our neighborhoods weren't as nice, our homes weren't as nice, our schools weren't as nice, we had some type of organized economic base. We owned the businesses that were in the black community. For example, the convenience stores were owned by black people. The laundromats were owned by black people. The schools had black teachers, had black administrators. But when integration hit, the black people had resources or money and immediately ran off to the white people. And what that ended up doing was destroying the black economic base. So these convenience stores were taken over by other racial groups. The black hospitals, yes, they were black owned and run hospitals back then. Since black people didn't have to go to those hospitals, they closed. The black nursing homes closed, and all these other institutions as well. And I think, if we really want to be honest ourselves, that's because, again, we're constantly chasing after white people's validation, because on a subconscious level, many of us truly believe that white people have the best things and are the best. So we show that we make it by being around them. When the funny thing is, there's no other racial group out there that actually practices that type of behavior. Every other racial and ethnic group, what they do is try to keep their economic base going. They spend their money within their communities. That's like you go to a Jewish neighborhood and the Jewish person spends $1. That $1 will stay in that neighborhood for at least, I think, a month or two. Same thing with Hispanics, same thing with Asians, but you don't see it within black people. And these white liberals are actually taking advantage of our low self-esteem to finesse us on multiple levels. And I think there's another way we could look at it, right? Like in terms of even how black people, we go about trying to push back against racism. It's all about marching and protesting. And in a number of other videos, I've talked about the psychological meaning behind that in terms of when you're marching, when black people are marching and protesting, we're begging white people to solve the problem. And not only are we begging white people to solve a problem, but we're also saying, white people, why don't you treat us equally to you? Because all we want to do is be around you. And that's just the truth. I know people are not trying to feel what I'm saying, but I want you to think it through because there's a subconscious component to this, as opposed to how black people used to deal with white racism back in the day, which is boycott. Oh, you don't want to hire us at your business? We won't give you our money. Oh, you want to give us bad service to tell us to come in the back? We won't give you our money, which to me speaks from a place of self-respect. To me, I don't go around begging people to treat me with respect. If you feel like you don't need to treat me with respect, I don't need to be around you. I'm not going to beg you for it. If you feel that you're superior to me, then you don't have a right to have my money. And again, I'm not going to be around you because that's how I've learned to operate. That is a codified constructive behavior. If you want to know a little bit more about that, check out the links to Neely Fuller on the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel description. Codified lifestyle, the best way to deal with things. But so black people, we have to take some responsibility in this. White liberals are finessing us. They're finessing us for our votes while they give us nothing. White liberals are finessing us in terms of us constantly chasing after their validation. And then, we have to be honest with how they treat us, right? So we vote for the Democratic Party that's run by white liberals. We get no specific policies, right? While every other racial and ethnic group does. And then also we have to take a look at how they treat us on a one-on-one level. Now, in many black communities across this nation, one of the biggest problems that black people are dealing with is gentrification. And I always ask black people who are pointing this out and complaining about it, who is gentrifying black neighborhoods? And it's not white conservatives. The people who are coming in, kicking black people out, calling the police on black people within their own neighborhoods, and making young black kids feel afraid to walk around or play within their own neighborhoods are these white liberals, these so-called white liberals who voted for Obama, these so-called white liberals who date black men and women, these so-called white liberals who have black friends and who support civil rights. They're the ones who are coming in and gentrifying black neighborhoods, which is also another form of finessing black people. I mean, the gentrification process is happening in my hometown, right? And it's so crazy because, like I said in my previous videos, I actively used to be involved in politics, and it'd be insane to me where I have these conversations with these white liberals who are, politicians or involved in politics. And I'll point out to them the things that, the black neighborhoods need to be either safer or to have better schools and all these other things. And they would agree and they would say, there's challenges to getting all these things. But one thing I would notice, as soon as the white people start moving in, everything starts to get better, right? It'd be crazy. Like the roads would be all messed up, but as soon as one or two white people move in, the roads start getting better. People be asking for better policing, more police patrols, for the police to actually treat the residents like human beings. As soon as the white people start moving, that started to happen. And I'm like, so it's interesting because these same white liberals, they would tell me that, oh, well, those resources are not available, or we're having problems doing that. But as soon as people who are like them move in, all of a sudden now the political machinery is starting to become responsive and these neighborhoods start to turn like that. Now, all of a sudden you start to see Starbucks and all these other places move in when the black residents were asking for these things before. So, you know what I'm saying? So these are the type of things that I really want to point out in terms of how white liberals go about finessing black people. And then we could also take a look at this example as well. In terms of Cory Booker and Kamala Harris and their relationship with the black community, in terms of black people getting votes from them, some hard questions are being asked, which I'm very, very happy and excited about. Personally, I am a supporter of the ADOS movement. I think African Americans should be making specific demands for their community, the community that's in need, a community that built America and that should be getting something back from them. And I think it's good that black people are asking those same exact questions of Kamala Harris and Cory Booker. But then looking at it from like a logical perspective, I understand where Kamala Harris and Cory Booker are coming from as well. I want you guys to understand I'm not defending them. I'm just saying I understand where they're coming from, because both Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, any black politician that really wants to move up that ladder understands that if they say anything that's specific towards black people, these white liberals, not white conservatives, these white liberals are going to be the ones who won't vote for them. So, guys, I just want to leave these important points and these thoughts and opinions about how white liberals finesse the black or African American community. I think it's high time. I think it's about time that black people on a political level are starting to ask these hard questions in terms of what the Democratic Party, which is run by these white liberals, is specifically going to do in terms of policies and actions to address the needs of black people, not people of color, not oppressed communities, not minorities, but black people or African Americans, however you choose to define it. And those are my thoughts and opinions. Guys, I thank you for listening in. I know this video is a little longer than usual, but this is a topic I just had to talk about. This closes out my trilogy about the 2020 elections and African Americans and the black vote. And I really want to hear your opinion on this. So remember to like, share, and subscribe, and leave some comments down in the comment box, because I'm always welcome to it. Baseman Awakens.